Hello, summer camp art students. I'm Miss Morris, and today we will create a watercolor watermelon slice, painting with watercolors, of course. And for this lesson, we will need one sheet of watercolor paper. Now, I prefer to use watercolor paper because watercolor paper absorbs all the water and the paint without sogging up the paper. If you use a different type of paper, it will hold and withstand that water. So it's best to use watercolor paper. We will also need a watercolor palette, a cup of water, and a small round brush. Now, most watercolor palettes come with a very small round brush, so if you have that on hand, that's awesome. We can get started. Okay. First, we're going to start wet on dry. If you have a watercolor palette, and I'm trying to move it into the camera view so you can all see it at home. Here we go, much better. We're going to start with our light pink. So if you have a watercolor palette, the lightest pink in your palette is what you're going to do. So what you're going to use. So you're going to just take your brush, put it into the water. You're going to go right into your lightest pink. And you're going to create a straight line at the top, just like this, leaving some space at each end. Going back into your light pink, we're going to create almost like this shape here. Now I know it's really light at home for you guys to see. I'm going to paint in, I should say, all this space inside the watermelon wedge. Now, the more water that's on your brush, the lighter the color will appear. The less water you have on your brush, the darker that color will appear. So you can always kind of like thin out your paint just using water if you need to. So I'm just going to keep going over it. I like to darken it a little more as we work the perimeter of this shape in here, keeping it nice and light towards the center. Okay, so we have this nice, pretty light pale pink going on. Now we're going to go into our red on the palette. And now we're going to go wet over wet, and we're going to see some of that color absorb. So going right over the shape we just made, we're going to just outline. Only within the wet part of what we just painted. Now you see that color taking, it's absorbing. I'm just working around. And this is a really easy watercolor project for beginners. I know some people can be a little intimidated by watercolor, but it's not as hard as you think it is. Just let it do the work for you. So I'm just going to thicken this line up. And as I do that, I'm trying to bring that color more inwards. So I'm brushing it towards the inside. There we go. There we go. All right. I'm going to take my water and I can break up some of that color, making it go back to light again. All right. I'm going to clean my brush, and now I'm going to go into the lightest green. So as you can see on my palette, let me bring it closer to you. I'm going into my lightest green, and then I'll be working next with my medium and then my darkest green, okay? So on the outside of this, right next to here, is where I'm going to start my curved line wrapping around the watermelon wedge. And you can always go back and clean up any lines that you feel are not perfect. We're only using colors that are in the watermelon, so that's fine. And now we're going to just kind of close this just a little bit. Try not to touch the red. You don't want it to bleed onto it. So as we color this light green in, we're going to stay closer to the first line that you made and move slowly towards the watermelon's beautiful pinkish red color. Adding a little water to keep that green very light is key. But again, don't overly saturate. You don't really want your colors to bleed into each other. And now notice how I'm slowly going around it, creeping up a little closer to the red line, but not ever crossing it. I don't even want to touch it really, just bring it as close as I can. Really close. Here we go. Okay, really nice. Okay, so now I'm going to go into that medium green that I showed you. Here's the palette again. This is my medium green here. And I'm just going to work a little closer to that edge. Not too much. We don't need too much of the medium green. And we're only working around that edge again, just like this. So just give it a little bit of depth. Give it a little bit of a deeper green color going on. Okay. Now I'm going to go into my darkest green. And I'm going to use not too much water. I don't want too much water with this. I want to keep my paint as opaque as I can. So I'm just going to outline. Not using a lot of water. I'm trying to paint in a very thin line of the darkest green. Because this is not that thick on a watermelon. It's very thin. It's like the skin. So we just want to show that, but we don't want to make it too thick. Gotta keep it believable. Okay. All right. Looks good. And again, if you have any lines you want to clean up, you can do so. Okay. All right. So we are missing something with this watermelon, you know, and that's the seeds. But before we go into the seeds, and make the seeds, we need to let this dry, okay? So you can pause the tape. I want you to allow this to dry as much as you can before making the seeds. Why? Because if you apply the wet onto wet, it kind of does like a tie-dye effect where it just merges in with the other colors. And we don't want our seeds to blend in with the red. We don't want them to bleed out. So that's why we're going to wait for this to dry, and then we will go into the seeds. So pause your tape. If you have time, let this dry, and then we can come back to it. So I'm going to pause now, and we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. So now we're going to start with the seeds. Very simple. You're going to clean off your brush. You're going to just take the tip of your brush only. You don't need a lot of water, so please don't saturate your black paint on this palette. Just get it a little wet so that your brush sucks up the opaqueness of that black. And then we're going to draw the seeds. The seeds look like little raindrops. Okay, so we're going to start. I always like to start somewhere in the center. And we're going to do like a little pattern where we go up and down, up and down. I'm just going to kind of do an outline of a seed, leaving the inside a little white like so. And this one will be down. Okay. This one will go up. Again, this one further up. You want to kind of just scatter them. You don't want them too uniform. That wouldn't look too natural. Excuse me. It's really good. And I'll do one more here. And I think it looks awesome. I got a seedy watermelon. Okay, and there we have it. Very easy to do. Very few colors we use. We use the very light pink. We use red, light green, medium green, dark green, and black. Very simple on watercolor paper. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great summer, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.